Hi, everybody. I am Miss Karen at Adams Memorial Library. Thank you very much for joining me for this week's book report. The books I have to talk with you about this week are all about Paris. They all take place in Paris, France. And that's why Madeline's here. Usually she sits back here next to Peter. But today, since we're doing stories about Paris and we're doing Madeline's own book, thought she should come down here where she could see even better. And I also brought this little friend from home. We did stories about artists before, so this is a little, I think looks French because of the beret, the hat he's got on, but it's a little snow friend artist, his palette and paintbrush, so I thought he might like to hear these stories too. So these are the books I have this week. Madeline story. Madeline was written and illustrated by Ludwig Bemelmans. This one is kind of a bonus one because this is the first story about Belinda the ballerina, written and illustrated by Amy Young. But you need to know a little bit about the first story so you'll appreciate when Belinda goes to Paris. See, here she is in front of the Eiffel Tower. This was also written and illustrated by Amy Young. This one is called ZERAFFA, GIRAFFA, and it's based on a true story about the first giraffe that ever came to France. It's written by Dianne Hofmeyr, and the illustrations are by Jane Ray. This one is called Adèle and Simon, and Adèle is Simon's big sister. This one was written and illustrated by Barbara McClintock. And this last one is a very yummy book because it's about crepes. It's called CRêPES by Suzette. This is Suzette, and she takes her little cart around Paris and makes crepes for people as they're walking around. This was written and illustrated by Wellington. And you can see a lot of these books have the Eiffel Tower right on them. So if you see the Eiffel Tower, you know you're in Paris. Now this book, Madeline's book, Madeline is a famous book about Paris, and it's really a famous book in children's literature. And a lot of people know how it starts. So even if you didn't recognize that the Eiffel Tower was in Paris, you would know you're in Paris because it tells you right on the first page. It says, in an old house in Paris that was covered in vines, lived 12 little girls in 2 straight lines. They left the house at 9:30 in 2 straight lines. In rain, oh, here they are, walking past Notre Dame Cathedral in rain or shine. And the smallest one was Madeline. She was not afraid of mice. She loved winter snow and ice. There she and her friends and her teacher, Miss Clavel, they're all ice skating in front of Sacré-Cœur, another church in Paris. Oh, Madeline was so brave. To the tiger in the zoo, Madeline just said, "Pooh-pooh, not afraid of you." And nobody knew so well how to frighten Miss Clavel. But then one day, Madeline really frightens Miss Clavel because in the middle of one night, Miss Clavel turned on the light and said, "Something is not right." Little Madeline sat in bed and cried and cried. Her eyes were red. Oh, she was sick, so they called the doctor. The doctor came and Madeline went to the hospital in an ambulance and drove past Eiffel Tower again. But don't worry, once she got to the hospital, she was fine. She had to have an operation, and after that, she got something that was so interesting that all her classmates wanted to have one too. So if you check Madeline out, you can find out what happened to Madeline when she went to the hospital. So this is Belinda, and she is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful dancer. She loves ballet. She's very good at it, but she had two little problems. Well, some people thought they were problems. Her problem was that her feet were kind of big, sort of bigger than the average ballet dancer. And when she wanted to audition for a ballet recital, Oh, there were 3 snooty judges there, and they said, nope, we don't like the way your feet look. Your feet are too big. You can't dance in the recital. And poor Belinda, she was just crushed. So she decided that maybe ballet dancing wasn't for her. So she decided she'd find another job. So she worked in a restaurant, and everybody loved her because she was so graceful to watch. She was so nice, but she still felt sad. Until one day, a band came to play at the restaurant, and their music was so wonderful that it made Belinda want to dance again. And everybody who came to the restaurant thought she was a beautiful dancer. And more people heard about her, and everybody thought she was a beautiful dancer. And finally, even those snooty judges had to agree that Belinda was made to dance. And then she became such a famous dancer that she was asked to come from the United States to Paris to dance. So this was so exciting. And everybody was so happy. They were going to get to see Belinda, the famous dancer. Everybody in Paris was excited. Everybody was happy, except poor Belinda herself. Oh, here she is at the top of Notre Dame Cathedral with the gargoyles, and she is not very happy. The reason she isn't happy is because when she flew to Paris, one of her suitcases made it, but the suitcase that had her famous custom-made, just to fit her, beautiful dancing shoes got lost on the trip. Instead of going to Paris, they went to Pago Pago, and they were not going to get back in time for her to dance. So what was she going to do? She didn't have her toe shoes, her ballet shoes. But this is Gabrielle. She's the littlest ballerina there. And she says, wait, maybe there's somebody in Paris who can help you. And so there were people who wanted to help, but they didn't quite have everything that they needed. But Belinda and Gabrielle kept trying and kept going and kept talking to people. And soon they were able to help somebody who could help somebody who could help somebody who could help somebody. And did they get new toe shoes in time? Oh, I hope so. You can check out Belinda in Paris and find out. This one that I told you was based on a true story. It really is. It happened a long time ago in the early 1800s. So the dialogue in the story, what the people are saying is made up, but the basic part of the story is true because there was a ruler in Egypt and he wanted to become allied. He wanted to become friends with Charles X, the king in France at the time. So he heard that Charles X liked looking at all kinds of different animals. So he decided he would send a giraffe to the king of France. So what happened first was the ruler in Egypt sent some of his servants out to find a baby giraffe. And then he decided that his servant named Atir would be the keeper of the giraffe and take care of her. But then they had to figure out how to get that giraffe from Egypt here all the way up to where the king lived in Paris, way up there. So they had to go through all this water and all the way up to there. So the first thing they did was they had to get the little giraffe onto a boat, a small boat. And Atir said, I will call you ZERAFFA. So then they called her ZERAFFA Giraffa. She went on a boat on the River Nile. And then she went on a bigger boat here and crossed the Mediterranean Sea through all this water till she came to the very bottom part of France. But even getting to the bottom part, there was still over 500 miles to go to get to Paris. And the people in France couldn't figure out how to get her there. So Atir says, well, just walk. She's got long legs. She can walk. So they did. They walked for 550 miles. And she had some soldiers there to help protect her. And all along the way, people were so excited to see ZERAFFA, to see this giraffe. And then when she finally got to Paris, people were so excited. the king built her own special, like her little palace of her own. And the people in Paris were so excited that the bakers made giraffe cookies, and they made giraffe neckties and giraffe little coats for the dogs. And some ladies liked the giraffe so much that they got really, 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 really high hairstyles. So high they wouldn't even be able to go into their carriage. They had to lie down on the seat and go sideways so they didn't mess up their fancy giraffe hair. And even though she lived in Paris now, Atir, ZERAFFA's keeper, always told her about the place that she'd come from in Africa in this story. Now, ADÈLE is the big sister, and so she needs to pick up her brother Simon after school. And Simon is a nice boy, but he has a habit of losing things a lot. So when she picks him up, oh goodness, already she sees that he's dropping things. Here's this story in Paris. It also takes place a while ago, as you can see by their clothes. But ADÈLE goes to Simon's school to pick him up, and he says, look at my drawing of a cat that I did. I'm going to take it home and show Mama. But she says, okay, that's great, Simon. It's a beautiful drawing, but please try not to lose anything today. And Simon says, I'll try. But when they're walking through the markets, when they get to the other end of the market, Simon says, what happened to my cat picture? We don't know, but it might be somewhere on this page. You see it anywhere? Well, if you take this book out from the library, that's what you get to do. You not only get to take a little tour of Paris, but you also have to seek and find Simon's things. On this page, he realizes after here, he doesn't have his school books anymore. Then they go to the museum to see the dinosaurs, and then he says, ADÈLE, have you seen my scarf? Doesn't have a scarf anywhere. Might be somewhere in the museum. Oh my. When they get outside, he realizes he only has one glove, and he started off with two. Then when they go watch a puppet show, he realizes, sure enough, he lost his other glove too. So when you can see all the places that ADÈLE and Simon walk, and you can see when he gets home, does he have anything left? Does he ever get his stuff back? When you can find out when you read this book, and you can look for all the things and see if you can help him find his lost stuff. Now, this last story takes place today. You could go to Paris and see crepe sellers today. Here's a little map of Paris, and it has the key here of the places where ADÈLE is, where Suzette is selling her crepes. And I like the pictures in this book because it's kind of a collage mixture of drawings and photographs. First, Suzette goes to the market to buy the things for her crepes. She could make you a crepe with fruit on it, bananas or pears or strawberries or raspberries. She could make one with jam. She could make you one with chocolate on it or sugar, whatever you'd like. So she gets all her ingredients. And she starts pushing her cart around Paris. And another interesting thing about this book is that all the people who she sells her crepes to are based on people from pictures, from art that you might see in Paris too. This one, I believe, is by the postman, is the picture of somebody that Van Gogh painted, Vincent van Gogh. Here she is outside. Here she's selling a mother and a child some crepes, and they're based on a picture, painting by the artist named Mary Cassatt. She sees some musicians, and they're based on ones in a picture by Pablo Picasso. Here she is at Notre Dame. There, ADÈLE and Simon went by. MADELINE went by there too. So you can see a lot of different views of Notre Dame in these books. And then finally, when Adele, or I keep calling her Adele, Adele is Simon's sister, when Suzette is finished selling her crepes at the end of the day, oh, there she meets bride and groom, and they need a crepe too for their special day. The bride and groom are based on a painting by Marc Chagall. And finally, at the end of this book, not only does it tell you about the paintings that the characters are based on, not only does it tell you about the places where Suzette sells, not only does it tell you some French words that you can learn, but it also has a recipe for Suzette's crepes. You can make the very same crepes that Suzette is making. And I've actually made them before, and they are very delicious, I think. Très bien. Very nice. So friends, if you are interested in anything about France or Paris or crepes, come to the library. Check these books out. And you can tell me what you think about them. You can tell me at the library, or you can always email at kids@adamslib.org. And thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you again next week, and we'll talk about some more books, friends. Thank you. Bye-bye.